Hello everyone, and welcome back to this 20th episode of Brilliancies with Mikhail. And today we are going to see a game played with Mikhail and Boinch. Sorry, I'm not able to spell that correctly. I think it's Boinch, and of course Mikhail in Halle in 1974. So, yeah, Tal is with the black pieces here, and as usual, he has got a certainly very nice compensation on the queen side. Let me just go to the board. Yeah, perfect. So Tal's with the black pieces, he has got a certain nice compensation here on the queen side. It's a Sicilian defense opening, and you see Tal has a very nice bishop lined up. This bishop, although a bit passive, but is still ready to join the attack anytime. The knight is very well placed on c5. The rook is correctly placed on c8, and the queen is ready to join the forces with queen b6 or queen a5, as usually it happens in Sicilian defense. So again, you can keep this question in mind. These are some of the checks that when you play as black Sicilian, you have to look for these things. Otherwise, you see the attack for white is also very strong. You have two rooks lined up against the black king, a nice rolling G and H pawns. As always, white does try to attack on the king side. And with these two bishops looking very powerful on the king side, it's a race between the two sides. So Tal initiates the strike with pawn to b3 here. And he's basically trying to dislodge the king's defenses here for white. And for white, it's best not to react. I mean, you can't do anything more than that. If you play something like c4, just knight captures on d3, the bishop retreats, and you're going to face some weaknesses on the king side. And you can actually take, if you take something like this and this, the a file gets open, queen a5 is certainly a possibility after that. And if you take with the c pawn, if you take with the c pawn, then again, it's going to be a problem because simply a catches on b3. And what do you do here? You can actually play a3, but that fails to knight captures, queen captures, and now if you guys wonder that how rook c2 is correctly stopped with the knight on d4 defending this, now comes pawn to e5. The nice little I will not say reflection. It's just removing the defender tactic to be precise, and you are attacking the d4 knight. The d4 knight has to move, and once the d4 knight moves, rook to c2 is going to be very deadly. Comboing with a perfect combo with bishop captures on a3, rook to c2 is certainly going to be very deadly. For example, something like knight to f5. Uh, Even bishop captures on f3 is possible. There are tons of possible moves. Of course, you cannot play rook b2 because of knight captures on e7 with a check. Again, for you guys, there are a couple of many winning ideas here. You can play knight captures on e7 directly. You also have queen captures on d5, a tactical way to win pieces, win two pieces actually, because of the queen captures, knight captures on e7 check, pokes the king and the queen, and once you pick up the queen, you are just up two pieces and a lot of material. So again, that cannot be played, of course. But after knight f5, there is bishop captures on f3, and this can be certainly played because now the rook is under attack. So if you trade the queens, this bishop captures. Uh, it's a bishop pair versus an open king, and I think it's completely losing because first of all the rook is under attack, and because the king is open, something after rook h2, there's bishop e4 check, picking up the knight, and it's completely winning a4 top. So that is again not possible. That means that this idea of trading on B3 is certainly very bad. So what do you do here? So Boench of course tries the other way around. He plays pawn to h5. He says, well, okay, if you're going to strike here, I'm going to strike with a similar attack on the king side. But now Tal comes with a very nice plan. Again, the plan that I showed you, it's almost similar, but there's, you can say, only change that the king's forces are not yet open. So knight captures on d3. Again, if you capture with the queen, the c2 pawn falls weak after e5. But if you capture with the pawn, Tal says, well, still e5. I don't mind playing still e5 because I want to dislodge knight from d4, then go rook c2, and I will be winning the game. And I think the best option here, this position is already very good for Tal, but still the best option here for White was to go knight f5 and try to remove this dark suited bishop and hold on to the position. Still after a3, he captures on a2. This is still like something like this, king a1, pawn to a3. This is still very dangerous to play for White because it's not easy for White to play. But yeah, White could have, you know. I will say, perhaps hold the position. It's not easy, certainly. But Boensch goes for an all-in approach. He plays pawn to g6. He says, well, look, you can take my knight. I'm certainly going to threat some attacks over the black king now. And Tal says, well, okay, no issues. For now, there is no attack here. Pawn captures on d4, so Tal is up a piece. You have queen to g2, now sacrificing the bishop, and this is the poisoned bishop. So Boensch is playing like Tal's style versus Mikhail Tal himself. So he's sacrificing pieces against Tal. And this is certainly a very important thing to keep in mind. So just a minute. I think my mic is okay. Yeah. It is working fine. Yeah. So we have to again and again keep in mind that he's playing with the sacrificial behavior against Mikhail Tal himself, which is the master of tactics, who is the master of tactics, sorry. So what do you do here? Again, you can't take the bishop. If you get too much greedy, just pawn captures on h7 and you're getting checkmated. If you capture, just queen capture on g7 is checkmate. So you can't do that. So of course Tal avoids it. Tal plays bishop f6 guarding the g7 pawn, but now Bonesh comes with h6. Again, you can't take the bishop. And the problem is now he has attacked the g7 pawns once more. And if you take the bishop now, simply pawn captures on h7 wins the game on the spot. If king h8, just pawn captures on g7 comes with a check, it's game over. And if king captures, then again you get pawn captures on g7, discard check from the rook. And once you go to king to g8, you can either take the rook or the best option is rook to h8 with a nice little checkmate. So again, that is not possible. So again, again, it's a very tricky position. But Tal says, well, no, I don't want to have the second piece. I will first capture the pawn on g6, which is a much more valuable asset for white. So f captures on g6. You have h captures on g7 by Boensch. He again is ready to sacrifice the bishop because he's getting the rook. But now Tal doesn't even care about the bishop. He plays his dream move of the attack, rook to c2, sacrificing the whole rook on f8. And I will explain the reason behind it shortly. First of all, this is the move that he was planning right from when he played b3. Now he has got it. And the reason why white cannot take here actually is that after queen captures in f8, he has no option but to sacrifice his queen for the rook. For example, if he doesn't do it, he plays something like queen h3. Actually, in the game, a similar variation occurred, but this is again much more exciting. If he plays queen h3, just rook captures on b2 with a check. Uh, if you take just pawn captures on e3 with the discard check from the bishop, and it's game over. There is nothing to be done. If you step on the c1 square, queen c5, finish up the game in the next couple of moves. And if you don't go to the c file, if you go to the b file, just pawn captures on b2 with a2 with a check. The bishop is guarding the pawn. This bishop is slicing right away to the a1. You have to now forcefully step on the c1 square. After which there are a couple of moves, queen c5, a1 queens that are going to lead you to the victory. So you can't take the rook, of course, here. And if you go to b1, there are a lot of options. I will not reveal the best move here because that is what exactly Tal played a while later, not in the similar variation, but you know, a pretty similar position. The variation is different, but the position is much more similar. But okay, let's go back. That is why you can't take the rook on f8. So Tal understands it, and Tal certainly doesn't capture the rook on f8. Well, Tal plays queen to h3 first. And this is almost the same. Just the orders are reversed. But now he meets the same rook captures on b2 with a check. And this is the game finish. Again, king captures on b2 leads to what I've already shown you with pawn captures on e3 discovered check. So Boyens plays rook king to a1. And now this is the moment that I was talking about. Uh, I told you guys even before in the previous variation that this is winning. But what is the move? Rook captures on e2 is still winning, but Tal plays the absolute best. So this is the first moment in this video where you can pause the video and find the best move for Tal. Yeah, for those who could get it, great. You're a great person who can clear up pieces that come in the way of attack. And for those who want to enjoy the show, it's rook to b1 with a check. And what's the idea? The idea is pretty simple. If you capture with the king, let's see what happens. First of all, if you capture with the rook, just pawn captures on e3 with a check. You have to put your rook in between, after which bishop captures on, sorry, bishop captures on b2 with a check, king captures on b2, queen f6 with a check. The king is going to get slaughtered. If you go to c1, queen c3 is immediate slaughterhouse. If you go to b1, just pawn captures. followed with pawn to a1 with the queen is the slaughterhouse. And if you go to a3, it seems that you have escaped everything, but you have not because of queen to d6 with a check. You have to go back. Now comes pawn to e3 with a check. And again, now the scenario is same. If you go here, the pawn captures. If you go here, then there is queen e5 with the checkmate. And if you go to the c file, there is always queen to c5 with a check. There is also rook c8 check, of course, is not there. Sorry for my uh, oversight. Queen c5 is the right move. After this, bishop b3 and queen e3. That's going to be game over for white. So yeah, that means that this is again not possible. You can't certainly go in this line. So Boeing plays king captures on a2, but now comes pawn captures on king captures on b1. Sorry, now comes b captures on a2 with a check. If you go again here, it will be a nice little mate with a dark squared bishop. So king to c2 by Boeing, but now comes queen c7 with a check. The queen joins the party. If king b2, queen c3 is a checkmate, so king to d2, queen c3 with a check batal, king to e2, queen to c2 with a check batal, and you have to block with the bishop. Sorry, bishop to d2. There's another option. If you go to f1, there is certainly a checkmate threat here, but you are not in time. Just queen captures queen to here, and you are certainly not in time to do so. For example, if king to f1, there is even, sorry, not even queen captures on d3. Queen captures on d3 is winning, but that's a longer path. Why to take a longer path when you have a shorter shortcut? I completely forgot this pawn on a2. It's a1 queens and it's checking. So that's the most shortest path to win after king f1. So bishop to d2 by Boeing, and now comes rook to e1, rook to e8 with a check. Sorry. And yeah, finally the rook moves after being hanging for so long because everything was checked. And now the king has to leave the defense of the bishop anywhere he goes. Again, king f1, there is a1 queen, so king f2 was played. And after queen captures on d2, king g3, bishop e5 check, Boeing resigned the game because there's nothing. The queen controls the entire second rank. The king has no way back to home. And if he goes to h4 or g4, if king g4, queen f4 is directly checkmate. And if you go to h4, it's just mate in one additional move. Queen h6 is check, forcing the king to go to g4. And now queen f4 is going to be a nice little checkmate. So a nice king walk from b1 to g4. Yeah, almost like in the game, it was b1 to g3 because in this position, Boeing resigned. But if he would have allowed a checkmate on g4, it would have been a legendary king walk worth one more move. So yeah, again, a brilliant game. I will say Boeing also played very nice. The attack that he planned against Mikhail Tal's king on g8 was certainly very good. But as they say, it's difficult to defeat someone who is a master in something that you are trying to do against the same person itself. So you're trying to win tactically against a person. It's good. It's very good. But you're trying to win tactically against Mikhail Tal himself is certainly questionable. Okay, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed the game. This is one more addition to the series of Mikhail Tal, and there are some more games that I have to cover, which are currently scheduled. But I'm trying to find new and new games that will be much more exciting and much more deeper variation. Because again, why are tactics famous? Why are Tal's calculations famous? They are all famous because of the calculations and deep depthness of the calculations and tactics. And one important factor that Tal had in all this is intuition, because he calculated everything, that's correct, but more than calculations, he also smelled success in that position. So that is very important for us to learn from Mikhail Tal. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do subscribe to our channel for this series and stay tuned for the next episode of Brilliancies with Mikhail Tal. Thank you.